Hey everyone, I'm Serena with the SerenaFit Virtual Training Studio, and tonight we are hosting Kristy Runzer. She is a financial expert, and she's going to talk to us a bit about budgeting. So, one of the reasons why I'm excited to have her in the studio, it's obviously not fitness and health, but it is part of a healthy lifestyle to budget, to be aware of your finances, and to just be aware of how you're living your life. And I have recently taken my finances, um, under a microscope as I continue to invest in my company and grow into my mid 30s and think more seriously about what's ahead, what the next 30 years looks like financially for me and my company, my personal life. I've created my own little challenges and I've been posting a little bit about that on my Instagram and Facebook, but um, always awesome to be able to connect with experts locally and have them share their knowledge in the studio. So that's something that we always want to bring to you guys. These cross-industry experts coming through to share their knowledge to help us build a whole healthy life outside of fitness and nutrition. There's obviously a bunch of other components, and budgeting and finances are one of them. So I'm going to let Kristy take it away. She's going to talk to us about how to budget and avoid a spending hangover in January, knowing we're about to come up into a busy holiday season. And hopefully there'll be some great takeaways. We'll also just slide in and make it a little more conversational as she goes through. So Kristy, go ahead. And I think you can screen share whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me, Serena. And you're exactly right. Financial wellness is so integral and everything and connected with all the other different parts of health and wellness. So I'm super excited to be talking about this today. I will start doing some screen sharing. I have a couple slides here, but definitely feel free to jump in, ask questions, share any experiences. You mentioned you're on your own financial journey, which is amazing. And today's topic is holiday finances, how to avoid that spending hangover in January. Because you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed or anxious or just kind of fearful of what your credit card bill might be looking like come January. Or maybe you're kind of just avoiding and you're just going through all the Black Friday sales and Cyber Monday and all the December promotions and just swiping the credit card, putting the credit card in, not thinking about it. But come January, you're like, oh crap, there's that happened. So today I'm hoping to transform that to feeling a little bit lighter, more free, just going into the holiday season with some intentionality and having a sense of, okay, this is what's happening this holiday season. This is where my money is going to be going, and really how you can create a financial plan for the holidays. So I have 3 areas that we'll be digging into. First is kind of laying a foundation so that you can go into the holidays with a solid ground beneath you, right? Kind of putting in some of those groundwork, foundational pieces before jumping into the holiday season. Second, we'll talk about what it looks like to create a holiday budget and a holiday plan. And then from there, we'll go into working your plan, right? Actually putting that budget and that plan into action. So first piece is laying your foundation. And I would recommend starting with just getting a sense of where you're at now. So some things you can look at: your savings, your income, your expenses, and your debt. So savings, for example, do you have a cash cushion in the bank that you can use for that increased holiday spending, or maybe not, right? Where are you sitting with your savings? And then looking at income and expenses, thinking about increased spending during the holidays. Is this something that you might just be able to cover out of your normal cash flow? Is once your bills are paid, is the money you're bringing in, is there some extra that you can use to fund things like gifts and all the stuff that inevitably comes up during the holidays, which we'll get into? And then how about on the debt side? Where are you sitting there? Do you have debt that you're carrying? Do you think that debt is typically a way where you are funding holidays? I know a lot of people kind of put holiday stuff on credit cards, and, no shame or judgment wherever you're at, but just getting real with where are you with your different financial numbers here. And then from there, creating a vision for the holidays. So really taking a look at what this season's going to look like for you. What are the different things that you want to do? Are you going to different holiday parties? I know here in Philadelphia, there's a lot of great events going on. Are you going to a work party? Right? What are the things that are happening? Secondly, what are you wanting to buy? And we'll get into this more in the budgeting section, but some things that might come up are gifts, right? If you're going to a lot of parties or hosting, might be things like food. We're also getting into winter even more. Sometimes things like, you need a new winter jacket or that new pair of snow boots is coming up. So starting to think through the different things that you might be purchasing this holiday season. Another thing, how do you want to give? Whether this is gifts for family and friends, or maybe it's gifting to your favorite nonprofit or organization that you support. And another thing to consider is if you want to be investing in yourself at all this holiday season, especially with 2020 right around the corner. A lot of us have our goals and the new year on our mind. Is there something that you want to kind of be jumping on or taking advantage of or planning for now in December to kind of get yourself on that track, right? Using kind of Serena and fitness as an example, if one of your goals is to move your body more and to increase your energy, maybe you're thinking, okay, what's my fitness going to look like? Am I a part of a studio? How am I moving my body? So that's an important area, I think, too, that we don't think about because we are so focused on everybody else during the holidays a lot of the times. That I'll speak for myself at least. And it's important to remember that, you're important too, and it's okay to invest and spend on yourself as well. So that is how to think about laying a strong foundation, just really getting a sense of where you're at and where you want to be going. Any questions or thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like aside from like this obviously being the holiday season, making this like kind of algorithm in a sense, like work year round, I guess you could kind of ask yourself these same questions going into like anything, like saying, vision for my next vacation in June. It's kind of like asking the same questions, right?
100%. Whether it's a goal, a financial goal, these are key questions that you can ask yourself. And in terms of finances, key numbers to look at as well, whether it's holidays, travel, investing, right, building up your cash reserves, whatever your goal is. So I think that's a huge point. And thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, for sure. And one more just like note or maybe just comment. I feel like when it comes to debt or just even general awareness around these numbers that you've mentioned here, like it's just I'm sure you work with people who say this, but like there's such like a discomfort around coming to terms with some of the numbers in your life, and I mean, my discomfort comes from not necessarily having crazy expenses or really any debt at all. I've been like blessed with that, but it's not having like massive flexibility in my budget, which stresses me out. And I can't just go buy like anything huge or random, or if I get like an unexpected bill, which doesn't really happen, whatever. But like if there's something that pops up, I feel strained, because everything's like really budgeted tightly. But can you just speak on like how to approach becoming comfortable with like these numbers and like opening up that credit card that you've been avoiding and like, like just tackling it? Like it's so hard. And I'm thinking of a couple people in general that are like in my close circle who
Mhm.
just like who always just like turn their head to it and are literally like choking back like anxiety tears, like
Yeah.
knowing like what these numbers are. And
That's
they're
a great question. And I get that too, because I feel that too. Even as a financial professional, I get anxiety over my finances because it is such a heavy and emotional topic, right? We have shame, we're embarrassed, we feel like we should be further ahead,
yeah,
we're afraid of being judged, we're judging ourselves,
yeah,
and it just becomes this whole, negative thing in our head, and it brings this stress on. And so there's no kind of easy answer to getting from that point to comfortably feeling like, oh, I'm great with my finances, right?
yeah,
Everyone's path and journey is going to look a little bit different. I think a good place to start is just gaining awareness around what that, whether it's stress or shame or fear, looks like.
mm-hmm.
That's kind of step one, is like, what is really kind of causing that for you? What does that look like?
Yeah,
And then from there, and this kind of step two is something I'm just really embracing and learning now myself, is like acceptance. Okay, this is where I'm at. I feel stressed when things outside my normal budget come up, or I feel anxious about, and I feel shameful of this credit card debt that I have. And
mm-hmm.
just kind of accepting, like, yep, that's where I'm at. And I feel that way right now. And then from there, you can start to push through it and start to shift your mindset and look for solutions. And so, for example, maybe it's you want to have more income and you're stressing about that, right? And you're beating yourself up because you're not at a certain amount of income, or you haven't saved a certain amount. So your shift could be, it's okay that I'm not there yet. This is a goal. I'm working towards it. It's not saying anything about my self-worth as a person. That's a big thing that I've experienced, is kind of associating my money with my worth as a human, right? So whatever that block is, whatever that thing is that you get to the root of, just starting to shift that and reframe your mindset in a way that's going to help you feel more at peace and just feel better about it. And it's a process and it's a journey, and it looks different for everyone. But that's kind of just some general thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think when you like take control of it, there's really a quick flip in terms of like empowerment. Like for me, when I started consistently investing into my savings account, anything from like literally $5 up to $150 on any daily or weekly basis, like I get super excited to deposit even the smallest amount now. And it's like a little game for me. And I just shared yesterday on my Instagram that I like write down, what I invest. And maybe some months it's a lot and other months it's not. But the fact is that it's consistent. And there's a little bit of empowerment and positivity around that little drop. And it's like, boom, like one step closer. Or like for me, when I was in my 20s, I'm buying random bullshit items. Now I'm like exchanging the $15, Forever 21 top for a $15 deposit into my Vanguard account. And it's like
Yes.
much
Yes.
phase of life, but it's also a massive mindset shift that you're right. It's a journey, and it's a conversation you have to have with yourself, and
Mhm.
really getting comfortable with these numbers. So, all right.
And I
Thanks.
think an amazing thing that you said right there is just, taking those small steps, right? You do $5 a week, one week, you do $150 another week, whatever that looks like. But you're literally taking it, whether it's day by day, week by week, small steps, and those things will start to add up to big results. So if you're feeling that resistance and avoidance, that's a great way to start, is just what's something really tiny that feels easy that you can do to get you moving in that right direction, because that momentum is just going to build from there. So I love that you said that, because that's a really great way to just kind of start taking some action and seeing, kind of proving to yourself that you can do it and it's okay and it's all moving in the right direction. It's all going to work out.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well,
So that's part one. Part two is creating a budget. And so this is starting to think through the spending that you're going to do. So I have a little Google sheet I'll flip over to, and I'll share this with all of you. I actually have a link right here. I will pop it in the chat. If you want a copy of this, you can use the Google sheet, or you can also just do this on pen and paper as well. I'm popping this in the chat for you all if you want a copy of this. But essentially what I did, pretty simple, I just laid out, different spending categories. I have two examples here, events and gifts. In this column, it's kind of identifying what it is, what I'm buying, and the budget. So under the events category, for example, maybe I'm looking at my calendar and I see I have a family party. I'm going to a potluck at my friend's, and I'm going to an ugly sweater party. And then in this next column, it's like, okay, am I buying anything for this? For events, parties, I'm buying a lot of food and wine, and then I'm getting a sweater for my ugly sweater party. And I think through, okay, how much are those things going to cost? And so I put a dollar figure in this budget column. And then on the gift side, I listed out everybody that I want to buy gifts for. For mom and dad, I have a specific gift listed, and I put a dollar amount there. For other people, maybe I don't know yet, and I'm just giving a budget. And you can really see how that might add up, right? And if you're looking at this and you're like, oh my gosh, $1,200, that's a lot. Or maybe you're looking at it and you're like, okay, that's great. And your numbers are going to look different. This is just an example. But that's where you can then kind of go back to where you're starting from, right? Do you have the money in cash right now? Will you be able to fund this through your paycheck and the income that you're bringing in? Or do you maybe need to make some adjustments to your budget here? Maybe lowering the budget for some gifts, or I have some tips on a later slide, but I'll kind of speak to them now. Maybe you suggest a Pollyanna or a white elephant with your friends or your family or your coworkers. So getting creative, if you're feeling like this budget's too much of whatever it is that comes up for you, there's definitely some ways to reduce. Or maybe you see it and you're like, cool, I'm good. I just need to follow it. Right? That can be the hardest part.
Because there's like two pieces to this. One is the budget creation, and then two, it's not getting sucked into all these triggers when you're cruising down the Target aisle or Macy's or whatever else. That's like two massive willpower moments.
100%. And I have some thoughts and tips on that in a later slide, and I'd be curious to hear if anyone else has anything that they do that works for them, because we all have different styles and personalities and habits and whatnot. But this is where you'll start, just really mapping it all out. What's everything coming up? Just look at your calendar. That's what I do for the events piece. Think about, who you're buying for. I love having specific gifts picked out, because then I personally like to go online and just order it, and then I can hopefully exit out of the browser quick enough before something pops up that I want to impulse buy, right? So that's what works for me. Everyone's different, but
yeah.
And I put yourself in there too, if there's something that you want to buy for yourself. I bought some new sheets and comforters for my house this year, and I was feeling a little guilty about it, but I was like, you know what? This is my gift for myself and my husband. We don't usually really get each other gifts. We just, we'll spend on everyone else. So if you have something that you want to buy for yourself, put that in there too. So let me know if you guys have any questions on creating this budget or what that looks like. And feel free to grab this sheet. It's view only, so you would have to go to File, make a copy, and then you can edit it. But that's a template that you can use, or you can just pen and paper this. And then the last piece is working the plan. So part one is kind of tracking everything, right? Making sure that the budget you set, you're following, or noticing if you're not following it. That's okay. No, not a big deal. Don't beat yourself up, but just being aware of that and on top of that in the moment, because then you can make tweaks. Clarity Money is a free tracking app that I love. If you want to do this with an app, you just connect your bank account to the app and it pulls through all your transactions and it'll categorize a lot of them for you. I'd recommend double checking and making sure everything's in the right category, but this is my personal favorite budgeting app. There's a bunch of them out there. If you have another one you use, great. If you like pen and paper, great. Whatever works for you, but just looking at your budget compared to what actually happens, right? And then these pieces are kind of what we were alluding to, Serena, in the, knowing your habits and practicing mindfulness around it, noticing your behaviors and your urges. So, for example, are you the avoider? You swipe the credit card and you don't look at it. Are you the impulse buyer? Do you walk into Target with one thing in mind and leave with hundreds of dollars later, right? Are you maybe the person who gives to your own detriment, right? To where you're putting yourself in a position you don't want to be in. So really identifying what are your habits, what are the urges you have, what are the behaviors that you have, just being in that state of awareness as you're going through the holiday season. Some tips that I have, and I would love to hear if anyone else has any other thoughts on this. One is pause before you purchase. So for our impulse shoppers, if you're kind of grabbing stuff off the shelves as you're walking through the store, take a mindful moment and really think about what you're doing and what you're purchasing and ask yourself, is this something that is in my budget or that I want to purchase? What purpose is this serving? If I buy this and it's not in my budget, is that okay? Or is that kind of putting me in a position I don't want to be in? So really ask yourself some of those questions before you make maybe an unplanned purchase. Another tip is maybe not buying right away. Now, if you have your plan and you've set that out and you know what you're getting, that's great. But especially if it's maybe an impulse purchase or something that you weren't planning on, but you're like, oh, it's on sale. Take a minute, take 24 hours, come back to it and see if you've changed your mind, right? We can kind of talk ourselves into like, I need this now sometimes when we see stuff and we weren't even thinking about it a second earlier. A reminder, it's not a sale if it wasn't planned. That's kind of speaking to the mindset of, oh, it's on sale, I'm saving money. Well, if you weren't planning on purchasing that thing in the first place, you're still spending money. Even though it's lower than what it was, it's still money that's being spent. So you're not actually saving money, right? And lastly is unsubscribe. I don't know how many marketing emails you guys have been getting. My inbox has been blowing up, especially with Black Friday and Cyber Monday just passing. Those Instagram ads too, they know what you want. So some good old-fashioned unsubscribing is always helpful as well.
I think speaking to the unsubscribing, I feel like I'm coming at it from two different angles, obviously being a business owner and wanting to sell my service, but also from being a consumer. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I just feel like this year there was just like so much of it. Like, there was just a saturation aspect that made me just feel like, I don't know how to describe it. It just like, I didn't want to buy any of these things that like there wasn't like some type of like positive return. So like fitness is one thing. Obviously I'm biased to that. I think if it's a quality service, yeah, figure it out, invest in it. But like like with all the clothes stuff and like electronics, like what's the return on that? And like, does it make sense to like buy up a whole bunch of that stuff? Or does it make sense to like maybe go on Etsy and get like one quality personalized item that's like a thoughtful gift that shows you took time and will probably ending up saving you like $75 per gift. For, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm like thinking about quality over quantity. What's that one person going to like? And then how can I also support like a small business or like an individual too? So I feel like that's my mindfulness contribution to this webinar is don't be part of the masses. Think about how your purchase at any time of the year can give back to you. Obviously, if you're donating to a charity, can give back to an organization, or can show your thoughtfulness behind the gift. Not just, oh, I remembered you liked that jacket and it was on sale at Nordstrom, so whatever, here it is. You know, like, I don't know. I just don't really feel like a lot of us need a whole lot of things, but like the marketing and society is drowning us and constantly telling us that we do need these things. Like really, we don't. So.
Yes. So true. Check in with yourself. Ask yourself if you really need it, if you really want it. I'm a big fan of, not having a lot of stuff. And, everyone's different, but.
Right. Blitz or Chelsea, do you have questions or comments or anything you want to slide in with?
Yeah, I was actually going to comment on the mindfulness tips. This would kind of be more something you would think a couple months out before Christmas. So around October, I try to listen to my parents, my friends, and my brother, and I kind of try to pick up certain things. Like my mother, for the longest time, has been talking about the cup phone thing from WeatherTech.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but she's been talking about it for months. So I'm like, okay, that's what she wants. That's what I'm going to get. How do I allocate that money for her? So from a couple months back to now, I'm just slowly looking at certain things like, oh, okay, Temple Bookstore was having a sale. Let me pick them up with what I wanted to get them. Mm-hmm. That part's done. WeatherTech was not having a sale, so we're just going to get that another day. But yeah, I think if you just listen to like certain little keywords that people will say and just write it down or just take a mental note, it definitely makes it a lot easier purchasing everything, trying to figure out where you're going to get it and for how much, and making sure you have that money prepared.
Right.
So love
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's really good. Also, just when you were saying that, it also reminded me too, to like, you can pick up gifts for larger holidays, like anytime throughout the year. So maybe some of the year you may have more money to spend, or you just have like a good month or something. No shame in picking up like, I don't know, like a really cool bathing suit for your significant other to like gift to them at the holiday. Yep. I don't know, like be savvy in when you're picking up sale items, because we all know after the holiday things go on sale. So maybe you can, I don't know, even like for 4th of July stuff, I right after Labor Day, I do start thinking about the holidays, partly because I'm excited about it, but partly because I know that if I'm not aware, like Kristy is encouraging us to become, then I end up spending the $1,200 whether I'm aware of it or not, and it's like, well, if I can get ahead a little bit and I can spend only $800, then I'd rather do that, So that's awesome. So it's just a lot of good food for thought.
Yeah, I love that. One thing to add too about kind of being proactive throughout the year is you could even start saving for the holidays like come January. So like using the example of you need $1,200 come holiday time. If you save $100 a month, come December, you'll have a pot of cash for your holiday spending right there. So whether it's putting a little bit in a savings account, from January 1 throughout the 12 months, that might help if you're the person who maybe tends to fund stuff with credit or not have the cash come holiday time, but needing it. Another little tip in there.
One thing also piggyback off of that, my mom through her bank does a Christmas club. So she signed up years ago, and what they do is every paycheck, they'll take a certain percentage that she has set and they'll put it away to an account, and then she's able to cash it, I think like October and November. So cool. Now she's like, I don't have to use what I'm bringing in. I'm using from that account.
Wow. Yes. Look at that.
She does it through TD, but I mean, I feel like any bank could. There's also an app I use, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it before, actually. It's called Digit. Yeah, so I do that, and I put, like, I want to save X amount of money by this date, and it'll help you make that happen.
Cool.
Yes. That's awesome. Is that the one that rounds up to the nearest dollar and like takes the, like if you spend 150, it'll take 250 and put the 50 cents in the savings account? Or
I think so. Like it changes all the time. Some days it'll take like 50 cents out, and then the next day it'll take like $8. So I'm not sure truly how the calculation works, but it works for me personally.
That's great. I love that.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we kind of hit our 30-minute mark, so I don't want to go over too much, but Kristy, if you have any like wrap ups or anything you want to share about yourself or whatever else, this was great. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And if you have any further questions or want to connect, feel free to reach out. I'm here. Happy to help. Happy to talk through anything, and wishing you the best for your holiday spending. No hangovers come January.
Right. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully this gave you something to think about. If anything, just a reminder to become aware. Really, the biggest thing that stood out for me was like the foundation points, the savings, income, expenses, and debt. I think that's imperative to know year round, not just during the holiday. Mm-hmm. So that's going to stick with me for sure. So thank you so much. And we'll catch up soon. Have a great night and happy holidays.
Thank you. Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye. See ya.